Hi, welcome to my build of a 60-inch wingspan Avanti Pattern Plane. Today I'm going to be starting to build the tailplane and also the fin. The tailplane I'm just going to build on top of the plans. This is the tailplane I've just cut out from the plan, and I'm going to build this pinned down to the bench. It's fairly simple, fairly flat, 1/4 inch 6mm balsa top and bottom with a few 6mm spars or 3mm spars, and a lot of the components that I need for this I've already cut out and prepared a while back when I was doing things like the ribs and the fuselage, which hopefully you've seen on a previous video. These are the wingtips, and I've also got all the pieces that make up the tailplane. Sorry, the fin. Here we go. So it's going to be nice to see this starting to take shape. I've now started to glue some of the components together and prepare others for the tailplane and the tail fin. I've got the tail fin here, made up of 4 components which I've glued together. It's quite nice the way it's varied the angle, the direction of the grain to give it strength. This is out of 10mm balsa, so it's quite hefty, quite nice. And also here's the control surface, which fits under that little bit of an overhang there, and then hangs down over the end of the fuselage. And this itself again is made of 3 pieces, so again giving it some strength. This is 8mm, this is 10mm. They need to be profiled. There's quite a bit of material needs to come off this, which is probably a good thing. When I peeled off the paper template, it did take a little bit of the balsa off here, so there's a little bit of an indentation there, which I'm hoping will disappear when I sand it and do the profiling. But if not, I may have to just put a little bit of filler in there, which is slightly annoying, but it'll be fine. So those are done. And I won't do anything with those now until I come to the final fitment, and when they'll probably just need altering for size. I've prepared the pieces for the tailplane. I've got the leading edge and the trailing edge, and I've got 1/4 inch or 6mm balsa on the ends, and this is again kind of joined rather than in the centre here to give it a little bit of strength and make it a longer joint. I pinned this down on a foam board. My table and cutting mat are pretty flat, but it's surprising when you put a straight edge on, there's just a little bit of light in the centre. So I put on a couple of sheets of paper just under my foam in the centre, and that's just taken that out now, and that is perfectly flat. So even if you think your table's flat, it's worth checking. So that's good. This centre section here, I've got a couple of pieces of 10mm balsa. This will pin down onto that, come down onto that, and then there's a gap here, which I'm going to use this 10mm balsa as spacers, because eventually the fin will drop down into that once it's been trimmed to size. So need to make sure that is of the correct size. So I'm going to get on and glue this now. I will glue up the frame, get the centre pieces done, and then I've got the balsa here ready to cut for these diagonal pieces. Okay, well that's all pinned down and glued and held into place by these weights to make sure that nothing lifts up, and so I get any steps in these cross pieces. And I'm quite pleased with that, everything's looking nice. So I'm going to leave that now for a good long while to make sure it's nice and set, and then I will unpin it, and the next job with this actually is to sheet it, because the whole tailplane is sheeted in 1.5mm balsa, with the exception of just this centre channel here where I put these spacers, because as I said before, that's where the tail fin slots. So that seems to have gone okay. Well, I've finished the construction now of the tailplane, the fin and the fin control surface, and I'm really pleased with the way they've gone. It's a very simple build, and all that's left now is to do a huge amount of profiling to get it into that sleek shape that it's going to be. And what I've done to help me with that is I've gone around and put a centre line. This is on the control surface, but also you can see on these elevators I've gone round here as well as here. The elevators I've actually joined together using some 3mm stainless steel. Just drilled a hole into the surface. I first put them into place. If I just show how that was. I first put them into place. I put the wire on top. I bent the wire. It's as I said, it's 3mm stainless steel, so I bent the wire to shape. I put it on top, drew where it was going to be, and so I could see where the hole needed to be, and then I just put a 3mm hole in and used a scalpel and a drill just to take out that channel. Eventually that'll be epoxied in. I'll rough up this surface here on the stainless steel to give it a little bit more purchase, but that fits nicely. It took a little bit of additional bending just to get that so it sat nice and flat on a surface, but I'm quite pleased with that, so that's good. That of course won't get done until I've actually covered them. I haven't done the slots for the hinges yet. That's one more job which I'll do at a later date. But this won't get glued until I'm actually about to fit these once they've been covered. The tail fin slots into the top of the tail plane. It's quite nice. And again, I've got the centre line put on that so I can profile it. And this is actually really sleek down. I'll probably lose about a third of the balsa off all of these surfaces. Not so much on the actual tail plane except for the tips, but certainly on the fin and the control surfaces a huge amount comes off. So that's my next job. I always find the profiling a really rewarding job, probably because I'm a little bit intrepid at starting it, because it's quite a significant job, but then really pleased how it starts to develop and starts to look. One of the things I'll be using and wouldn't be without is my David plane. If you want to have a look in my playlist, if you're interested, I've done a review of this. You can't be without one. I don't know what I'd do without this. So I'll be taking a lot off these surfaces with it, and also the tips. So I'll get on and do that, and we'll come and have a quick look at that once that's been done. Well, I've spent a significant amount of time today planing and sanding, mostly sanding, a little bit of planing to start with, using my David plane, and then following up with the sanding sticks that I've made. These are just bits of teak which I've stuck on different grades of sandpaper. Really good for getting a lovely, smooth, even finish. Highly recommended. I mean, there's lots of variations that you can buy on the market, or you can make your own. So I'm happy with what I've done today. I'm quite pleased that the surfaces are nice and smooth and a good shape. There's still a little bit of work that's going to be needed at some point, but I'm not going to do that for a while. For example, I need to put in the slots for the elevator hinges and for the rudder hinge or hinges. And once I've done that, I will angle these edges so that these will move nicely when it's hinged. So that's one job I've got to do. I haven't actually done anything with these edges. I've left them square on the rudder. I wasn't sure whether to put a profile on that, but actually I think I'm probably going to leave them square. On these elevators, these edges, these square edges, the rudder comes from side to side there, and I think that's kind of appropriate to have those edges square. I quite like that, so I'm going to leave that. The other thing I'm still kind of thinking about, jury's out a little bit at the moment, is with the top of the fin. I've left that square. I may end up putting just a little bit of a curve on that. I need to have a think, just a little bit of a nose on that, but we'll see. There's also some work to do down here, but I can't do that, or I don't want to try doing that until I've actually fitted the tailplane and the fin onto the fuselage. There's balsa to come on the sides here, and I'm not sure how this is going to be, how the profile, so that needs to be done once it's fitted. And of course it's going to need a final sand, but it's not looking too bad at the moment. It's I'm like I said, I'm quite pleased with the overall shape that I've got on this. It's still a little bit square. You can see the centre line here, and the same on these. Actually, you can't on that one, but you can see the centre line on this one. But eventually that will come out, and I'll just put a nice bull nose on that. I ended up having to put a little bit of filler in there, which still needs a final sand. Excuse me. That's where the magic tape I used to hold this when I was sticking it just pulled a little bit of the balsa out. But these wingtips come out nice. Quite pleased with that. So yeah, it'll be really exciting now to get this fitted onto the aeroplane, or onto the aeroplane fuselage. Before I can do that, what I want to do is get the wings fitted, I think, and I'll use the rear of the fuselage as a reference point for the wingtips, and then I will use the wingtips probably as a reference point for this. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with how that's come out. It's nice how you get this lovely, smooth, rewarding finish.